control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back.
We all know Fury, you just a phony, man. This is just for act. You know where I am, you know what time, you know what place. I ain't scared of nobody. I'll come in your backyard, baby, for that's my man.
Listen, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'll fight you in your backyard. Like a dumb Klitschko, I'll beat you, you bum. You're a bum.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another show. Welcome to Jeremy Sports Network. How is everybody doing on today? Now, today is a big day in the sport of boxing because today we've got Mayweather having his media day on today. And Conor McGregor will have his media day on tomorrow. But with Floyd today, it was very interesting. A lot has been interesting with this entire fight that's at hand. A lot has been talked about when it comes to Conor McGregor and Paulie Malignaggi and what took place in their camp. Not only that, but a lot has been surfacing about the undercard. And now the undercard has been released. And the fact that the undercard has been released, I took into detail, and I know a lot of other guys took into detail what is actually on this card. And so when you look at it, you see Gervonta Davis, whom we thought he was facing two other opponents, but he's going to be taking on a guy in Francisco Fonseca, who is an undefeated fighter, 19-0 with one draw. And we'll get about his record in a minute. But also you got Badou Jack fighting on the card, and Badou Jack is taking on Nathan Cleverly, which serves to be a really good fight. That is going to be a really good fight. But also you have Andrew DeBeatty taking on Steve Cunningham, which sets up to be a really great matchup as well. Now in the prelims, which is very new, and we're going to talk about it also, is Thomas Delorme taking on Sean Porter. And to me, it raised questions of why is Sean Porter having this fight? What is this going to serve for a guy in Sean Porter? But in all actuality, a lot of this kind of makes sense of what it is that's taking place. Now, one of the questions that was asked is this worth $100? Is this pay-per-view really worth of $100 besides us getting Mayweather McGregor? And when you look at it, there's nothing that you could say about Gervonta Davis fight. There's nothing that you could say about Badou Jack fighting. There's nothing you could say about Sean Porter fighting. All these fights are really good fights. And I sat right here today and I just took it all in. I took everything in on what it is that people were saying and what people wasn't saying and what made sense and what did not make sense. And if you ask me personally, what makes sense is everything. And we're going to go through all the fights and talk about this whole entire undercard and what's going to be taking place come August 26th. Now today, Floyd Mayweather did have his media day. I believe it's still ongoing. And in his interview, Floyd just been saying pretty much the same exact thing that he's been saying. And it's only speaking truth. Because now you have a lot of boxing fans who are sitting here and trying to, not boxing fans, but just people in general. People in general. You could say the casuals and you could say the MMA fans are pretty much the reason why we're talking about this fight in particular. And the reason why we're talking about this fight with these two guys in particular is because, for one, you got them talking about the big Paulie Malignaggi debate. Was Paulie knocked down by Conor? What is the reason why Conor had Paulie in camp? We're going to talk about all of that on tomorrow when Conor has his media day. But as of today, with Mayweather, only questions that are being asked of Mayweather is, do he really believe in himself to beat Conor McGregor? Because in his interview with Stephen A., he was talking about he's 40 years old. He's a lot slower. He doesn't have the same power that he used to have back in the day. Everything it is that Mayweather said, yes, it serves to be true. It serves to be true. But at the same time, what people have to understand is Floyd is only keeping it real. He's keeping it real with everything it is he said. When you look at the paper and you look at this fight on paper, because we're going to do our tell of the tape. When you do the tell of the tape and look at this fight, you see a guy in Conor McGregor who's a lot bigger. I think right now he's at, 160, I believe Floyd said. And so you got a guy who's a lot bigger, who's a lot stronger, who's younger, who is more into their prime than anything. He has the longer reach, and he has the height advantage. And he's very unorthodox. He can switch from southpaw to orthodox, which he's going to try to do in the fight, but he's only going to tire himself out. I'm sorry. But when you look at this fight as a whole, it really raises a lot of questions. And the questions that it raises is Floyd Mayweather really being honest with what it is he's talking about? That's one of the questions, right? That deems to serve a point. But I believe Floyd, and this is just being honest, Floyd is a guy who keeps it honest. But I believe Floyd is just telling the truth and keeping it real. He's telling the truth, but he's keeping it real. He know he is going to have to do whatever it takes to stop Conor McGregor. He knows that. Simple and plain. If Conor McGregor go the distance, like Floyd said, he believe that that's a win in Conor McGregor's eyes. So he have to get him out of there. And so I believe this is going to be the best Floyd Mayweather we probably are going to see within the last, I would say, 5 years. Floyd in the last 5 years. And within those 5 years, we got 2 Maidana fights, Andre Berto, Manny Pacquiao, and he's been off for 2 years. So he said he owed this to the public. And does Floyd owe the public? I honestly don't believe he owes the public anything, if you ask me. He don't owe the public nothing. But the fact that this fight alone is such a big fight, it really serves as something that's very out of the ordinary. Is it bringing Floyd out of his element? Not only Floyd, but is it bringing Leonard Ellaby out of his element? We seen Leonard today in his press conference. Leonard seemed a little bit uptight, very upset, something that he's not accustomed to being. But it's the MMA fans and the people who are gravitating towards some of the dumb questions that are being asked. Is Floyd really scared? Is Floyd not appreciating the fact that Conor McGregor can actually knock him out? It's just the certain things like that that is kind of taking away from what it is that what Mayweather has put together throughout his whole entire career. Floyd did the unthinkable in his entire career, but he's not getting the credit that he deserves. And the fact that he's not getting the credit that he deserves, is he going to get it after this fight with McGregor? It seems as if it's a lose-lose situation for Floyd. I said this before. With Mayweather, it's at it's at almost a point to where it becomes sickening for the true hardcore fans and the boxing fans who really appreciate what Mayweather has done. He's fought the tough opponents early in his career. He fought the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Shane Mosleys, the Saul Canelo Alvarez. If we was to put, and we're gonna talk about this as well, is the whole Oscar De La Hoya drama, when Oscar De La Hoya seemed to be pissed off because of the Mayweather McGregor fight, but he's not telling anybody that he tried to set up Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Conor McGregor before Mayweather McGregor. But he want to call Floyd all kind of names, disrespect, and stuff like that, which honestly, that doesn't serve a purpose if you're Oscar De La Hoya. Why hate on what it is that Mayweather is bringing to the table? Because he can do it on a different level than what Saul Canelo Alvarez can do. Floyd has been a promoter of all his entire fights. What fight can you go back and name that Floyd Mayweather did not have to do majority of the promotions? He had to do it in the Pacquiao fight. He had to do it in the Berto fight. He had to do it in the Maidana fight. I mean, the list just goes on. It goes on and on and on. But in this fight, you have a guy who has just as much charisma, brings an entire fan base, different fan base than just boxing, but the MMA fan base, and makes this fight in general a really good fight. People are going to pay to see this fight. Now, the question that I asked you in the live feed was, do you believe this pay-per-view is worth $100? Is it worth it? I want to know. If you leave the comments in the comment section, do you believe this undercard is going to be worth the money that it is that you're paying for? Because in my eyes, I do. And we're going to talk about the co-main event in Gervonta Davis, who is going to be taking on a guy who a lot of people, even myself, I had to go back and do some studying and to see who is Francisco Fonseca, to see who this guy is, who Tank Davis is facing. Now, Tank, if anybody knows Gervonta Davis became champion on this year. And he's defended his title twice against really good opponents. He defended his title against Jose Pedraza, and he defended his title against Lim Smith. And he's done the unthinkable. He's done exactly what he was supposed to do. Gervonta Davis did exactly what Gervonta Davis was supposed to do. So why hate on what it is that Gervonta Davis has brought to the table? You have people who are talking about, well, Lomachenko faced a guy in Mariaga who had a big name. Who has Miguel Mariaga beat? Miguel Mariaga lost his last two fights. He lost to Oscar Valdez in a step-up fight, and you lose to Lomachenko in a fight that you was pretty much dominated. Yeah, Lomachenko's face was touched up a little bit, but who has Mariaga beat? No one. But y'all want to sit here and praise a guy in Vasyl Lomachenko and say that, oh, well, Lomachenko is the guy. You know, Lomachenko is the reason why boxing is where it is right now today. He's the number one pound for pound. And it's like you're selling yourself lies that you don't even believe yourself. That's what's crazy. You're selling yourself something that you don't even believe yourself. That you say a guy in Vasyl Lomachenko is the number one pound for pound. How can you say that? I just don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. They hate on Gervonta for fighting a guy in Francisco Fonseca who is 19-0, 13 knockouts. Now, granted, his his fight resume and the fighters who he has fought has not been really good fighters. They don't have big names at all. Just going down the box rec, one fighter was 9-20, 6-12, 10-28, 7-15, 10-27, 5-12, 3-11. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. But for Gervonta, don't you think he has the right? He's young. He's 22 years old. You got a guy in Lomachenko who's 29 years old, who hasn't faced anyone in his career as of yet. And you lose to a guy in Oscar Valdez. Orlando Salido. You lose to Orlando Salido. You don't avenge your loss, but you continue to fight other opponents who we all know is not a big name at all. But they hate on Gervonta Davis, who's done exactly what Gervonta Davis needed to do in order to put himself in a position of being the co-main event of Mayweather versus Mcgregor. You can't hate on him. You can't hate for what it is this guy has done so far in his career. Gervonta has fought 3 times a year. Name me a world champion right now that is as active as Gervonta Davis, fighting 3 times a year. Because Gervonta done fought 3 times this year. Keith One-Time Thurman is living up to the one-time name. He's only fought once this year. And the year before that, he fought who? This year it was Danny Garcia. The year before that it was Sean Porter. The year before that it was Robert Guerrero. The list goes on and on and on. And it's like, I get tired of people hating on a guy who is very active in the sport, who is doing exactly what it is he needs to do in order to be successful. You can't hate on that. Why hate on somebody who is doing exactly what he needs to do in order to be put in a position of where he is right now? Who is it that he was going to face anyway right now that would have made this fight bigger than what this fight is with Francisco Fonseca, who is undefeated? He's an undefeated fighter. I just want to know who in you all minds that you all think, well, he should have fought this fighter right here. Maybe he would have won if he would have fought this fighter right here. No, it ain't no maybe he would have won, or not maybe he would have won, but maybe he would have given us a better outlook of what we may think could happen in this pay-per-view. We already know what's going to happen in this pay-per-view. We know. We know Gervonta is going to come with it and pretty much destroy his opponent. That's what I believe. Right? I mean, you can't take nothing away from what Gervonta has done up until this point. I believe Gervonta is going to dominate his fight come fight night. He's going to dominate. He's going to put on a show and be magnificent and brilliant like he's always been throughout his entire career so far. But like I said, we're going to dig more deeper before we get to August 26th. We're going to watch more Francisco Fonseca fights to learn about this guy and see who this guy actually is. We're going to watch some of his fights together, do a film study. We're going to do a film study on Gervonta Davis. We're going to do a film study on Badou Jack and Nathan Cleverly. We're going to do a film study on Thomas Delorme. We have one out there for Sean Porter, but we'll do another one for Sean Porter. But like I said, all these fights that's on his undercard, you have to appreciate it. Andrew Tabiti, he's a great fighter, great young fighter in Floyd Mayweather's camp, who Floyd is bringing up. Look at what Floyd is doing. And this is the thing. Oscar De La Hoya, like Floyd said, I'm not trying to knock. This is me personally. I'm not trying to knock Oscar De La Hoya at all. I believe him starting Golden Boy Promotions it's a very good promotional company. But at the same time, Floyd made a lot of sense when he talked about how Oscar is not trying to bring anybody up to be a good role model to. Just think about it. A lot of the big names that was fighting on Golden Boy Promotions card was not even signed to Golden Boy. Not even signed. Now, Floyd took it to the point to where he was talking about Oscar being on drugs and all this, that, and the third, but I'm not even finna get into that. I'm just going to keep it strictly boxing. So, what other names that signed to Golden Boy Promotions that a lot of people can rant and rave about? You have more people who currently know who's signed to Mayweather Promotions, more so than you know who is signed to Golden Boy. That's just being honest. But it's Floyd never getting the credit that he deserves for what it is he's doing with his fighters and with the fights that they're giving us. And this undercard is going to be a really good undercard. Now, the other fight that we're going to talk about that's in this undercard is Thomas Delorme versus Sean Porter. That's going to be a prelim card free on Fox. But it still will be a part of the Mayweather-Mcgregor. But they're going to give us that fight free on Fox. So, in watching that fight, Thomas Delorme taking on Sean Porter. Now, Thomas Delorme 24-2, right? 24-2, and he did have some key wins and some key losses. And when you talk about his key losses in general, the key losses that he had was against really good fighters. Now, he lost in 2015 to Terrence Crawford, and he lost in 2012 to Luis Carlos. But he got great wins against some quality opponents like Kareem Mayfield, DeMarcus Corley, and Francisco Figueroa. So Thomas Delorme, to me, is an easy fight for Sean Porter. We all know who Sean Porter is, Showtime Sean Porter, who just defeated Andre Berto this year and turned around and fighting again. You have to give this man praise because we didn't think Sean Porter was going to be fighting on this card until a couple of weeks ago when things started to surface and Sean Porter's name was being mentioned out there, and we thought Sean Porter was preparing for a guy like Danny Garcia for an elimination bout for Keith Thurman. But he's staying active, and the fact he's staying active is going to make him very dangerous when he fight and face a guy in Danny Garcia, perhaps, if these two were to face each other. But Thomas Delorme versus Sean Porter, if you ask me what's going to happen, I believe Sean Porter is going to pretty much wipe the floor with Thomas Delorme because, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're tuning in and watching, please hit the like button and share the show. It helps with the visibility of the show. But if you are tuning in and you know anything about this matchup, I'm not sure if they're fighting at 147 or not. Now, I know Sean Porter fights at 147, so I'm guessing Thomas Delorme, who left the 147 class, is moving up back to 147. And if so, him facing a guy in Sean Porter is going to be very tricky. It's going to be very tricky because we know Sean Porter is going to be very dangerous in what it is he can do in this fight. A lot of people don't know Thomas Delorme. They don't know what Thomas Delorme can bring to the table. But like I said, we're going to do a film study, and we're going to see exactly what Thomas Delorme brings to the table. Hopefully, we'll be able to get to see that matchup against him and Terrence Crawford. And then we'll probably do another matchup when he took on Kareem Mayfield. Right? Because you want to show a fighter in their greatest victory and also in their greatest defeat. But we know what we're getting from a guy like Sean Porter. We know exactly what we're getting. There's no need to even talk about Sean Porter, if you ask me, with just talking about this fight alone. Just this fight. There's no reason to pretty much talk about him. Now, another guy who is making a name for himself in the sport of boxing, who just came off of a draw, and that's Badu Jack. Now, Badu Jack, in everybody's eyes, taking on Nathan Cleverly. Now, Badu Jack, now, if we talk about Badu Jack, now, Badu Jack, to me, is a really solid fighter. He is getting better. He's growing. And the fact that he is doing exactly just that, growing, is going to make him very dangerous. And the fact that it's going to make him very dangerous is because not only is Badu Jack facing a guy in Nathan Cleverly, which I believe this fight alone, just looking at this fight, would have been bigger if it was fighting overseas, right? We noticed this whole card with Mayweather and McGregor is going to be big. We know that already. But this fight would have served more and would have brought more of another fan base for a guy in Badu Jack who is taking on Nathan Cleverly. And a lot of people who don't know Nathan Cleverly, he is a fighter from the UK. He has part of the WBA. And we know Andre Ward has the belt above him, the WBA belt, the bigger one that's above him. But Nathan Cleverly, he lost to Sergey Kovalev in 2013. We know about that fight. We've seen him pretty much get destroyed against Sergey Kovalev. And not only in that fight did he lose to Sergey Kovalev, but we thought Nathan Cleverly wasn't going to be able to bounce back. We didn't think that Nathan Cleverly was going to pretty much put himself in a position to where he could be as dominant as what he used to. But then, as fights continued to go on, he was able to capture the title. And now he's fighting a guy in Badu Jack who defeated James DeGale. If you ask me, I had Badu Jack winning that fight. Very close fight. I almost had it just as close as Triple G versus Jacobs. That's how close this fight was with James DeGale. But with Nathan Cleverly, this guy has fought some really good guys. Tony Bellew, he fought him at cruiserweight. He fought Fonfara. And I mean, he has the experience. So this fight, out of all the fights on the undercard, will probably serve as the best fight for the WBA World Championship. And that's the, I would say the smaller version of the bigger belt whom the number one pound for pound fighter has. And that's an Andre Ward. He has the bigger WBA championship. But this is just a piece of the WBA World Championship. But at 175, who else is there? You know, you got Andre Ward talking about moving up to cruiserweight to maybe face a guy in Tony Bellew. And so, if that was to happen, a lot of things could take place and happen in the sport of boxing when it comes to what Andre Ward is going to do. And this kind of serves good for Badu Jack, because if he's able to avoid Ward right now, and Andre Ward continues to move up and say he want to get a taste of the heavyweight division. We don't know if he's going to do that exactly, but him moving up to face a guy in Tony Bellew, which we know is going to serve as big dollars. We're not going to get the Bellew versus Hay again. We're not going to get that fight. Only reason why we're not going to get that fight is because, for one, Hay, coming off of that injury, we don't know if he's all the way 100%. You don't know that, right? Even though he was winning the fight against Bellew before he got hurt. But then he wouldn't be the A side. But if Andre Ward take on this fight in Tony Bellew and Bellew come to the States, I think the fight will be bigger if these guys were to go into the UK. Just like I think this fight right here, Badu Jack versus Nathan Cleverly, would be a bigger fight if this fight was in the UK. It would have been a bigger payday for Badu Jack and almost another bigger payday for the champion in Nathan Cleverly. But it's going to be a really good night in boxing. And I believe what Badu Jack is going to do is prove himself all over again, because when he fought at 160, he barely made that weight, right? It was a struggle to make that weight, and he fought James DeGale in a tough fight, but now he's moved up in weight to where he's going to be more comfortable, and is going to put himself in a position to be just as powerful as he was when he was at 160. Now, was he a knockout artist? Absolutely not, but I believe he's going to feel a whole lot better at 175, and he has the opportunity to drop a guy in Nathan Cleverly. We know he has a glass chin. We saw what Kovalev did to him, and Kovalev is just a monster, right? Straight monster. But Andre Ward was able to stop this guy. So it all remains to be seen when it comes to everything that is taking place with this undercard and it being announced today. To me, I'm satisfied. I bought in. I agree with everything that is going on right now. I agree with Mayweather. I agree with what it is that he's been saying in his interviews. You can't help but you can separate, if as long as I've been following Floyd, you can separate the BS from other things that Floyd says. And I believe Floyd is very genuine when he talk about being called names from Conor McGregor like monkey and things to that magnitude. I believe Floyd, he just kept it real. He kept it real. And the fact that he kept it that real, people don't like that. People hate that, and they try to take and twist his words and put him in a position to where he's the bad guy. And why? And if you ask me, why would you want to do a guy who has given his all to a sport, who has been nothing but good to the sport, and you treat him in such fashion, right? Why? What is the point of that? I was watching a show today, and it's talking boxing with Billy C or something like that, and he was talking about how Mayweather just scammed all the boxing fans throughout his whole entire pay-per-view career. Just scammed them. And the reason why he was saying that Floyd scammed everybody is because he didn't fight anybody, or because Mayweather make everybody look so easy that all he was doing was robbing and taking everybody's money. How? If you a true boxing fan, not MMA to where you're sitting out there brawling and beating each other brains out, and this isn't boxing of old where you sit there and lay on the ropes and get beat to death or almost beaten to where you can't even be with your family, talk, let alone hold your hand up, do whatever. Your health is just diminishing right before people's very eyes. And this guy who's done this sport the right way, in the game of hit and not get hit, and has mastered the defense of the sport of boxing, how did he scam us? If you believe you were scammed by Mayweather, drop it in the comments. Drop it in the comments. If you believe Mayweather scammed you in any fight in particular, drop it in the comments. You could say the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight wasn't a really good fight, but as many times as I go back and watch Mayweather-Pacquiao, Floyd did exactly what he said he was going to do. That fight with Pacquiao was so easy that he made it look like a sparring session, and people hated him for that. And they want to come up with every excuse in the book. Oh, well, Pacquiao's shoulder was hurt, so he had to have surgery. Really? I seen Pacquiao punch Floyd with both hands, land it with both hands, and then show any pain at all with the same shoulder that y'all said that he needed surgery on. But y'all want to say Mayweather didn't live up to the big fight and what was supposed to be with Pacquiao? Is it going to be the same with McGregor? Is he going to be able to live up to this fight? Absolutely. Are you serious? What are we talking about here? This is TBE taking on a novice in boxing. Conor McGregor right now is the next biggest name to Floyd Money Mayweather in combat sports. But think about it like this. Think about it like this. If you're tuning in, please like and share the show. It helps with the visibility of the show. And we do appreciate it here at Jeremy Sports Network. But I want you guys to think about this for a second. Just think about this. Say, for instance, right? Everybody who Conor McGregor has faced in MMA and defeated, Jose Aldo, Nate Diaz, and some other names of some guys. But think about all the opponents who he faced, right? Each and every one that he beat them standing up. He beat them boxing, striking them. So why do a lot of people feel as though this fight is a joke? Like Conor is not going to be serious and try to knock Mayweather out. You can't say this fight is a joke. You can't. There's no way around people saying McGregor and Mayweather are pretty much going to. I had a guy say at my job, I had a guy tell me this. Two guys, actually. They both said Mayweather is going to take the loss. And I said, are you serious? Why is he going to take a loss? They said because they know he'll get more money in the next time they fight. They thinking that it's all about the money. That Mayweather is broke. That is all about the money. This is the reason why he's fighting. Let me tell people something. What second fight has been just as good as the first fight? Or outsold the first fight? Let's say, for instance, right? Mayweather Madonna. Floyd was in, people say, a controversial decision because a lot of people felt as though Maidana won enough rounds in the first time they fought to win the fight. But Floyd won that fight, right? And it sold pretty good on pay-per-view. It didn't break any records or anything like that, but it did good enough, right? Maidana was able to get his money, got his payday, turned around, and these two fought again the second time. Now, given the fact of what it is you saw in the first fight, when Floyd fought him the second time and dominated him in the fashion that he did the second time, that fight didn't live up to the magnitude. I have another fight we could talk about. Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev. The build-up of the first fight, right? Kovalev get knocked down, comes all the way back, and wins. And then, not only that, Kovalev talks a lot of trash to the build-up of the second fight. And then we get the second fight. And in the second fight, he lose. And the second fight did not do nowhere near as good as the first fight. It was almost just as bad as the first fight as far as pay-per-view buys. But we sit up here and want to knock what Mayweather and McGregor is doing. Name me any opponent that Mayweather faced was handpick him. You could say that Andre Berto was a handpick, right? We knew Berto did not possess the skill set to defeat a guy like Money May. But look who Floyd has faced. That's the problem here. He's not getting any credit at all. And the fact that he's not getting that credit, I really want to see the fans who hate Mayweather, who talk a whole lot of trash about Mayweather, and there's a lot of MMA fans. But within doing that, just make sure you buy the pay-per-view. If you're not going to buy the pay-per-view, then don't say anything. Don't say nothing. Just be a person who sit at home, sit behind Twitter, who never go to these gyms, who never see these fighters put in work, but you want to have an opinion and speak your case. Just sit back and don't say nothing. And let the people who actually tune in and spend their hard-earned money have an opinion and something to say. Because everybody have an opinion. But it is true that some opinions hold more value than others. It's just like another thing. I posted this on social media today. I believe I posted it on Facebook. And when I posted it on Facebook, I said, I don't understand how ESPN allows, not even ESPN, not even ESPN. I'm going to take that back. I said, ESPN, when they talk about boxing, the analysts on ESPN, when they talk about boxing, guys like Skip Bayless with FS1, Shannon Sharp with FS1, Stephen A. Smith with ESPN. I have respect for Max Kellerman because he is actually in the boxing world. So we're going to X him out. But all those other guys in particular are who I was talking about. When you hear guys like them talk about the sport of boxing, right? It just makes me cringe. Because these are the same guys who was saying, oh, well, Jeff Horn didn't face anybody when he beat Manny Pacquiao. And the only time these guys seem to talk about boxing is if Mayweather fighting, right? But you come back and try to talk boxing as if you know boxing. How? How, Sway? How do you know boxing? The day I was listening to Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, right? And you got Shannon Sharp sitting here talking about Errol Spence as if he know who Errol Spence is. As if he know what Errol Spence had to do in order to become IBF champion. Who went over to fight Kell Brook to win the title. Who called everybody out in the welterweight division. And nobody said anything in facing him. Right? But you have these guys on ESPN who sit there. And if ESPN is so biased. Just go back and pull up on ESPN and pull up like their, you know how they do the power rankings or whatever for football and basketball or whatever. Just go back and look at their rankings and all that stuff that they have set up as far as like pound for pound fighters and stuff like that. They're one of the main ones who have a guy in Lomachenko who hasn't faced anybody and took a loss to Orlando Salido up there as pound for pound. Are you serious? That's why I don't like pound for pound lists. I gave my pound for pound list last week, right? And I believe I still have that list on here. I gave my pound for pound list. And the only reason, here's my pound for pound list. The only reason I even had Lomachenko in there was because of the skill set of what Lomachenko brought to the table. That is the only reason why. That is it. But just being honest, you see my pound for pound list, and Andre Ward is number one pound for pound. No matter how you try to cook it up or do whatever, who else right now is better than Andre Ward? Andre Ward has defeated the most dangerous man in the sport of boxing in Sergey Kovalev twice. No matter how you try to say he defeated Kovalev or whatever the case may be, the low blows, all of that or whatever, give that man Andre Ward credit. And you've heard guys like Terrence Crawford say Andre Ward is number one. You heard guys like Guillermo Rigondeaux say Andre Ward is number one. You've heard that from fighters that are well respected in the sport. Now, the reason why I have Gennady Golovkin at number two is because of what Gennady, him still getting body counts and put himself in position to face a guy who is who is a true middleweight. Triple G is a true middleweight. And the fact that he put himself in position to face a guy like Saul Canelo Alvarez, I mean, come on, man. Come on. And you got to put Terrence Crawford right there, teetering between 2 and 3. And the only reason why you got to put him teetering between 2 and 3 is because he's finna get ready to face a guy on ESPN who is taller than him, who some saying is stronger than him, and a guy in Julius Ndungo. And Julius Ndungo is a road warrior, a really good fighter. But if Crawford was to defeat him and become the undisputed 140-pound champion with all the titles, unifying all the titles in the division, who can you say is better? You kind of have to put Terrence Crawford right there at number 2 behind Andre Ward. And the only reason why I'm still giving Ward number 1 pound for pound is because Ward did it at a bigger weight class. And Ward hasn't lost a fight since he was 12 years old. But that's just me. But like I said, people in these lists, just like ESPN, HBO, stuff like that, you hear videos surfing of Bob Arum praising Mayweather, saying, "Oh, yeah, Mayweather's the best fighter since Muhammad Ali," and all this, that, and the third. And he turns around and say the same thing about Lomachenko, that Lomachenko is the best thing since Muhammad Ali. It's just these promoters doing things that's out of the ordinary, and people hating on a guy who is getting ready to become 50-0 and put himself in position to be TBE. That's just what it is. We can't hate on that. We can't. And if you're Money Mayweather, hats off to you, man. I'm looking forward to this fight. I know what it is that Floyd is going to bring to the table. But Conor McGregor, Media Day tomorrow, is going to be very interesting. And it's things that we're going to be looking at throughout this whole entire Media Day with McGregor is, for one, what does his weight look like? How sharp do he feel he's going to be? He's going to have to answer 1,000,001 questions when it comes to the Paulie Malignaggi incident. And everything that took place with the Paulie Malignaggi incident, we will be bringing that back to you on tomorrow. So you'll be able to get an understanding of what happened and took place with Paulie Malignaggi versus Floyd Money Mayweather. You'll get a better understanding. But like I said, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, this fight right here in particular, the money grab, right? That's what it pretty much is, the money grab. It's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting. Floyd kind of already know what it is that Conor is going to try to do in order to defeat him. But not only that, Floyd already know what it takes in order to be successful. Conor McGregor has never been on a stage of this magnitude. Not saying he's not going to come and fight. We're not saying that, no. But what we are saying is that, will it live up to the hype? Will it live up to the hype? Can Conor McGregor try his best to get Floyd out in 4? Is it going to happen? It remains to be seen. He has a puncher's chance. There's no knock against McGregor, not coming from Jeremy Sports Network, because we're giving everybody an opportunity, right? But sometimes we're going to call real, right? And that's just what we're going to do with this fight alone. And that's called a spade a spade. So, within doing this, everybody that's tuning in and watching, If you are, please like and share the show. It helps with the visibility of the show. I'm checking the comments to see if anybody pretty much talked about what it is that they believe may happen within this fight with McGregor and Mayweather. And I'm also checking the comments to see what people are going to say in reference to not only that fight, but the undercard. How do you feel about the undercard? Do you feel as though the undercard is going to live up to the hype in general? Do you feel as though the undercard is worth this $100 for this pay-per-view? Do you believe they done the people well? Do you believe that they took care of the people? Floyd say he owed the public. And do the public agree with the fights that we have on the undercard? That's the question that remains to be seen. But this is going to be awesome. This is going to be a great event. And like I said, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, Gervonta Davis will be taking on a hell of an opponent, supposedly in Francisco Fonseca. And also you have Sean Porter versus Thomas Delorme. Nathan Caverly taking on Badu Jack. And also, I mentioned this fight earlier. You have Ladarius Miller, who will be fighting on Tuesday, kicking off the Mayweather-McGregor week on Tuesday. So look out for him and putting together what it is that he has going on for Mayweather Promotions. He's trying to build his career and his resume up. But it's another fight in particular that I'm gonna drop a few clue bombs. Clues bombs. I'm gonna be dropping a few clues bombs in every show, because it's a fight that I'm gonna start promoting. Who I'm gonna talk to my boy. I'm gonna talk to my boy, and I'm gonna see how he feels about this fight, because I've heard him, but I did hear him call this fighter out. And this was after his big fight. So I did hear him call this fight out. And I'm going to start trolling this fight to see if this fight happens. And the people are going to have to stand behind me to call for this fight to see if this fight happens. He needs that fight. And the fighter who I'm talking about in particular is my boy Eric Moon. And it's a fight that I want Moon to have, that I know Moon wants really bad. Really bad. But hopefully we'll be able to get this fight. And it ain't no running from this guy. Ain't no running. So fighters beware. Fans beware. Supporters beware. I'd like to thank everybody who tuned in today's show. Thank you for if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you, and support us on Patreon. All the patrons who will be supporting this show now and in the future, much love to you. You can also check out the podcast on SoundCloud and also on Jeremy Sports Network. So if you missed this show, you want to follow it back, you're on YouTube, you can pull it up on YouTube, or you can pull it up here on Facebook. This is Jeremy Sports Network. I'm signing out. I will see you all either later on tonight talking about another big fighter, up-and-coming fighter, or you will be able to catch me tomorrow here talking about Conor McGregor's Media Day, which will be on tomorrow. And we will get into everything in reference to the whole entire Paula Malignaggi and Conor McGregor beef that's going on, because Conor is going to be answering those questions, and we know those questions will be asked heavily on tomorrow during his media day. So it's going to be very important and vital for you to pay attention to know how Conor really felt within taking on Paulie. It's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting. But this is Jeremy Sports Network. I'm signing out. You guys have a wonderful night, and we'll holler at you soon. I'm out. Peace.